certain things. So can you just go ahead, take a few minutes? And before we do that, let's take a moment of silence, of inner silence. Let's go deep inside of ourselves. So I'm going to give you a moment of silence, 2 minutes of silence, just to really engage in that understanding of what's inside, what's going on. So you can close your eyes if that's comfortable for you, but in this type of meditation that we will introduce you to, or for those who have been practicing, for those of you who are already familiar, it's an open eye meditation. So as we're going through this exercise of silence, just look at the questions. And if you have a piece of paper and a pen, I want you to be active in this meditation, in this contemplation. So as you look, and you're also paying attention to what's inside, to your thoughts, to those feelings, and to just how the body feels, I want you to just look at the questions and answer the question as you go down. So we take 2 minutes to really pay attention to the kind of thoughts that are inhabiting your mind. Just let go of the day that you've had so far. Just let go of everything outside. In the present moment, just remain here right now, looking at a screen, reading some questions. Just be ready to be honest with yourself. Am I reacting to the world? Are the news, the things people are saying or speaking about, are they affecting my state of mind, my emotional state? Are they affecting my actions towards myself or others? Am I resisting? Am I resisting people's thoughts, feelings? Am I resisting the time? Am I resisting those around me? Am I resisting understanding where I am? Am I defending myself? Do I feel attacked? Do I feel disrespected? Do you hold expectations of others? Do they need to be something you want them to be in order for you to be happy, to be at peace? Perhaps you want to control the situation, and you get tired in that search for control or ways of controlling. Are you complaining about something or someone? Perhaps your children, your mother-in-law, your brother, your mother, your employer, your government. Are you needing others to change in order for you to feel good? Are you competing to be right? No, this is the right way to do it. This is the only way to do it. Are any of these thoughts passing through your mind at any time? Is my intention clean? Am I remembering the spiritual knowledge that I work so hard at maintaining? Is my intention clean because my practice is so strong? Or has it become weakened by my relationship with time? Did any of you answer no to all of them?
No.
No one?
Not no to all of this.
Not no to all of this. Yeah, there's always something, right? There's always something that pops up. And it's very interesting because no matter how much we think we are doing extraordinarily well, it's always really important for us to maintain that sense of being awake and paying attention, because all these little tiny details begin to add up. And sometimes we think it's not that important, but part of a practice is this space of repetition. And sometimes it feels like it's repetitive, but it is repetitive for a reason, because the mind forgets very quickly. And so it's really important for us to maintain a certain awareness and to have the tools of that awareness. But what is awareness, right? What is the consciousness that we're striving to maintain or hold? And that becomes also a very important question. Did anybody have a comment or wanted to add something to this? Anyone? Anyone having a particular challenge with any of these questions?
Like one of these, do you have expectations? So I said yes, because not in every situation it's the same. So sometimes it comes, as some level of expectations in terms of doing things right, or sometimes being the right job. So sometimes it gives sense that either we're not doing right jobs if you're not setting the expectations, not expectation in terms of I did something, but something should be done correctly. So kind of confusion sometimes. Is it expectations or is it the right job to do? Okay.
Yeah, one of the things that is very important for us to also question in these aspects of expectation is understanding each other to the point where we understand what our best is, right? And that also trust. I trust that somebody is doing their best. Therefore, if they need additional assistance, then I'm happy to support them. Or if I understand the way somebody works and I understand that that is their best, how can I support them better? Can somebody else also lend a hand, right? Sometimes we create expectations that take somebody beyond their capacity at that moment. And so really maintaining that sense of an expectation is also an understanding and acceptance of somebody's capacities, right? So it gives us a certain perspective where it expands our capacity to better support each other. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Anyone else?
Santiago.
Hi.
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 This is a great exercise. Thanks for telling us to bring a pen and paper. I really recommend it because I was able to write it down and look at what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
I answered yes to mostly all of them. I found with reacting to the world, I'm sort of doing an ego triangle. Well, actually, let me start. I found, am I defending myself? Do I feel attacked? I found it was my inner critic. You know, telling that story, rehearsing things that happen in my life and, you know, trying to strategize and feeling powerless because I have anxiety, because I'm, you know, telling new stories. I find, am I reacting to the world? I'm doing like an ego triangle of victim, rescuer, prosecutor. You know, I'm being really hard on myself.
Yeah.
Do I have expectations? Yes. Sort of. like, I understand this is a Buddhist concept, but like craving and aversion, like I really desire something and I really want a certain outcome. And yeah, I'm trying to control others because I'm just irritable. This process that I do in my head is, I'm really activating myself. And by process, I mean, right now I have some struggles or situations in my life that I find challenging with different people and situations. You know, and I'm curious if you could tell me, so is my intention clean? What do you mean by that? I sort of, are we talking about being truthful? Like, is half of what I'm doing even true? Or is it just a story?
Yeah.
And like, am I really right now embodying all my spiritual qualities when I do this? No, I'm abandoning them. You know, I'm really disconnected from, being a, beacon of love and, purity and truth and other things that we talk about in these classes. And maybe that's why it hurts so much, because it feels like a spiritual wound.
Yeah.
There's an existential element to all of these things that I'm doing because I have a pattern.
Yeah.
I sort of go into this mode when I'm challenged, period.
Yeah.
Greater or less. Some things irritate me or cause a lot of aversion or craving more than others, but it's all just sort of this big bag of suffering.
Yeah.
That I'm creating and then carrying.
Yeah.
And it's painful.
Yeah, and we're going to actually address a lot of what you're bringing up because it's very important. And also the distinction between, obstacles and challenges are not just external with others. It's an internal struggle that we are also facing. The struggle of what is my intention in my thinking, in my feeling, in my doing. So the intention becomes it has many dimensions. Dimension of, am I aligned with my truth, what I feel I want to be? So if I want to be a peaceful being, is everything relying on that intention of being peaceful in the way I'm speaking, in the way I'm responding, in the way that I'm listening, in the way I'm doing? So it's very multidimensional when it comes to intention. Is my intention clean? And we're going to go into aspects of how to cultivate our inner landscape so that beautiful things can grow. But it comes from choice. I'm now making a choice, a commitment to actually do something differently. And as you bring up, a lot of the inner struggle, not only within ourselves, towards ourselves, but also towards others, comes from the fact that we are lacking commitment and the inner strength to remain where we want to be. So we become either lazy, we forget our practice, we stop doing the things that we know are nurturing our capacity, our strength, our inner will, right? So we'll address a lot of these aspects because, but it's very important to also come to terms that obstacles and challenges they are rooted in the condition of our inner state, right? So it's a very important thing that we're going to see how situations are actually rooted in the way and how it is that I am creating in relationship with them. So I hope that will lead into more answers for you in terms of what you brought up, and we'll go through it in detail. But please feel free to chime in if you need further clarification as we move along. Any other question or response? One of the other things that I'll bring up, which is not necessarily part, but it really does coalesce with all of these ideas, is how committed, how able, and Christy, you just brought it up, how capable am I of loving myself enough to maintain a state of mind which is nurturing, right? First nurturing towards myself. So how am I building inner strength to remain in that choice of having inner stability and inner joy, right? And why am I not doing it? And that's part of the discovery for today. Why have I not made that choice? So as I mentioned, cultivation means that, just like a plant, when you plant a seed, you need to water it, you need to nurture the soil, you need to make sure it has enough sunshine, right? And so how am I holding the space for myself and my world, right? What are the belief systems? What are the ideas? Because belief systems are basically ideas that either have been given to us, like this entire discussion and what I will share is a belief system. It's a way of thinking. It's a way of processing life. It's just one more belief system. It's a belief system that I'm sharing with you because of the results I've gotten for more than 20 years in terms of how I use it to cultivate a certain sense of in the mind, of the thinking, of the feeling, of the doing, right? So this, for me, this way of processing life has become a system that allows me to remain, and if I ever do go off track, to come right back. So the amount of time that it takes me to come back from the error is less, right? Because I'm building inner will to desire to come back. So the inner truth, that inner alignment, also informs the thinking, right? But most important, before even the thinking, the intention behind the thinking. So how I respond, my inner truth informs my thinking, my emotions, my doings, and my relationship, not only with myself, but also others. And the outer circumstance, when I am, my belief systems are all about external circumstances where I have created inner beliefs that are just in reaction, that cause me to be in reaction with the world, is that I become out of whack. What does out of whack means? It means out of myself, right? And therefore I can experience many different stages of that. So when a person's out of whack, sometimes they're feeling amazing. Sometimes they're feeling kind of half this, kind of half that. And sometimes they just feel like they're gone. There's not much growth in them. So how can we stabilize that space? How can we create that inner space? How can we learn to hold ourselves in such a way that we allow, it's not about you can't experience, but you need to create a space for you to allow yourself to experience something new. And that's holding that seed, holding that young little plant that is you, that spiritual being that is you, and holding it in such a way with so much love that it grows in a beautiful way. And that it's consistent in the way it shows up in the world. And that's what we're going to sort of explore, some of ideas that actually allow that to happen. So one of the things that we need to first ask ourselves is, what is keeping me in this space of conflict, like you brought up? Some of you have brought up. So what's keeping me in the cycle of conflict and suffering? What is keeping me at the whim, right, of external influences that then determine my inner condition. So why am I choosing to be at the whim of the world in terms of my thinking, my feeling, my doing? And one of the things that comes up for us is, do I really know who I am, right? So that identity, that I, is not clear. Who am I is not clear. And if I don't understand who I am, or if I understand who I am, but I'm not committed to align myself with that process, that thinking, that way of being that I say I believe in, then what happens is that it becomes confused, becomes unstable. So the aim of an objective is not clear. What an aim and objective has to do with intention. So if I go internally to work on myself, what's the intention of doing that? Is it to become more powerful and able to go and you know, grow in the world in such a way that I can, you know, become more powerful in terms of money and power and all that? Or is it the intention of growing internally more capable so that I can nurture myself and then also contribute to the world in a beautiful way? So what's the intention? What's the aim and objective? Is it to remain in anger, or is it to remain in, or to go into peace in my conversation, in my relationship, right? Is my aim to control this situation, to control others? Or is it to align myself first with whatever's true for me in terms of how I want to live and the qualities I want to reflect? Is there an alignment? And then is there an alignment to creating cooperation? Am I committed, right? In order to be aligned with something, you have to commit to the point where you're willing to be flexible, to mold yourself. Or do you have deep attachments to the mental fog? Like the sister mentioned there, you know, commitment to feeling a certain way, commitment to the pain, commitment to the suffering. Is there an attachment to actually that story? Is there an attachment to those feelings or thoughts, the kind of thinking? Somehow, no matter whether it feels good or bad, it's not important. But the attachment to that becomes the important thing. It's just a habit. You're used to it. It's sort of, it feels weird, but it feels good at the same time. It feels painful, but at the same time, it feels right. And what all these things that we then start to experience in our relationships, not only with ourselves, the struggle within shows us that we're not fully aware nor committed to oneself. And because that is occurring, then the commitment to aim and objective is weak. Our commitment to being a certain way, to practicing a certain system, to being a quality in action is too weak, right? So it fluctuates. It goes up and down, just like our condition. So commitment becomes very important. How committed. And the result when all these things are off whack is we are giving our power away. We give our power to this person and that person and this situation and that situation. We give our power to the moon. The moon is too bright. The sun is too hot. We give our power away so much that we're left with very little. Right? And all of a sudden we feel diminished, weakened. because we keep giving our power away, because we blame this person. And when the minute that we give the power to that person to fix something, we're giving the power away for that situation to be fixed. Now they have the power to fix it, not me. And we continuously just continue to fractalize ourselves, right? Become fragmented. So it becomes more and more difficult for us to not only have a sense of self, have a sense of wholeness, but also have a sense of direction. What direction do I go in? And then the other aspect that happens is we begin to take everything personally. So we begin to believe, not only do we take things personally, right? Because we're becoming sensitive. We take things personally. We forget who we are. We forget that we're whole. We forget that we're perfectly occurring. So we take things personally. And then when we take things personally, we get upset, we get angry, right? We go deeper and deeper into that spiral of negativity. And then what happens is when we begin to take things personally, we not only take things personally, we begin to live out those things that someone tells us, even if we understand them to be lies. So how much attention are we actually placing in the way we are receiving the world? And then how are we really internalizing it? So we are not taking responsibility for our part in the situation. Therefore, we blame others, right? It wasn't my fault. So have you, any of you ever told yourselves, they made me do this? Anyone? No one?
Used to do before.
Yeah. They made me do it. It's because of this that I became this. So we excuse our mistakes and weakness, and that happens a lot. So how can we heal? How can we become stronger? Where we use these situations that are trying to teach us how to be stronger, how to become much more powerful, but we excuse the weakness as opposed to saying, this is what's weak here. Let me strengthen this. But instead we say, I'm only human. This is expected of me, right? So we begin to actually act upon all these different ideas that have been thrusted upon us about how weak we are, how disempowered we are, how we don't have choice, right? So how do I come out of all this spiral of like, I can't, or I'm limited? Because this is all about limited way of processing life. It has nothing to do with you, the original you. But we still, despite the fact that a lot of us have been exposed to knowledge, spiritual knowledge, that we have come to understand a certain system of processing, we still are unwilling to sit in that seat of self-respect, that sense of integrated self, where I understand my position as a spiritual being who is giving life to this physical body and who's using it for the purpose of learning and expressing and expanding. So instead of living from that space of self-respect, I, the master authority of this system that is occurring, that I call being human, being a human being. So I, the soul, who is using this physical body to look through these eyes, to listen through these ears, to animate these hands and these feet, to run, to speak. I forgot that I'm the one who is in charge, who is creating.
how to stay in the soul conscious, like.
Yeah. How to stay in soul consciousness? The only answer I have is have a determined thought and a determined will to remain in it by remaining in the practice. And if you get off track, you come right back on, right? So never get caught up with the mistake. Don't excuse the mistake, but always acknowledge what needs to be strengthened and then come back in order to strengthen that weakness. But always come back to self-respect. I am the authority and I am creating.
Okay. Sometimes it happens like I'll call it as ego, most probably. But I think I'm in soul conscious. I am aware, but I'm not. I still my old habits drives.
Yeah. The only way to that I know that that is very consistent in terms of my own practice and also the circumstances around my own life is that whenever there is conflict, whenever there is an ugly feeling inside of me, whenever I feel distraught, whenever I feel confused, I know I am not in soul consciousness. So to actually understand that I am not in soul consciousness becomes very easy. Anything that is disrupting my clarity, that is disrupting my peace of mind and heart, anything that is disrupting my actions that create harmony in myself and in the world, that's an indicator that I'm not in soul consciousness. And I just had a situation not too long ago where I was having a conversation with somebody and they began to just say, to just tell me how I was feeling.
Okay.
And how I was, creating in the world. And I kept trying to justify the fact that that's not correct, that I know how I feel and I know how I'm doing. And they were very committed to the way of thinking and processing, at which point I lost my track. I lost my sense of self and I lost my sense of vision. And I basically said, I do not want to deal with you. Right?
Okay.
And so, and then I continued to say, I refuse to go outside of expressing love towards you. I accept who you are and what you're thinking and feeling. I just don't agree with what you're saying at the moment. And I said, I will remove myself from this now. Right. But in that moment, I also, when I went away, I felt this sense of, angst. Why? Because I didn't have the power to continue to listen. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so all these things, we are constantly being called to just love ourselves enough to be forgiving towards ourselves. So I had to go through the process of forgiving myself, because at some point in that conversation, I lost track of having pure vision, and I also lost track of my own self. I wanted to create, my aim and objective was to create peace and to show love. So I was impatient. So now I have to work on creating more patience.
Okay. So on the same note, like just a minute before you said how capable I am to loving myself and maintain the state of mind. So is that kind of work here also, like if you're losing a track or forgetting myself, even though I think that I am in my consciousness of the soul, but still I'm doing the same mistake, it means I'm not in.
That's
so
right.
So like the loving myself is also the missing part, right?
That's right. Yeah. So sometimes we get part of it right, and sometimes we don't. And it's based on our belief systems and also how we're being triggered by something or situation. Like, I'll give you an example. Sometimes we believe love is the answer for it all. Right? Love is the answer, they say. Well, love is not always the answer. Love is a good foundation within everything, but love is not always the answer for every situation, because sometimes tolerance is what's necessary in a particular situation. In this particular situation, patience was the answer. Acceptance was the answer. I accept that this is your condition, this is your way of thinking, this is the way you're feeling. I accept that you're using the words that you're capable of using based on the way you're thinking, right? Whether I believe them or not is irrelevant. It was really about giving the space for the soul to express themselves the way they needed to, because that's their condition, that's where they are, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So patience is the answer in this situation. Acceptance is another answer, right? But love right now, in terms of give you love, yes, I could give you love, but love is not the answer for me to maintain fully. I had to also bring in the energy of acceptance, respect, right? So we have to understand ourselves to the point where we can respond accordingly. Does anybody have any questions? So self-respect becomes sort of the indicator. Am I sitting in that seat of self-respect? Am I understanding in the way that I am creating a story about myself and the world? Am I really sitting in that seat of self-respect, of self-love? So the question that we need to constantly be in awareness of, and this is the sense of remembrance, it's not just about remembrance of the Divine Father, but it's also remembrance of everything that I'm being taught, keeping it in the consciousness, in the front of my eyes, in my inner ear. Keeping that sense of soul consciousness, I am an eternal soul who is the life force. I am the life force of this physical body, right? It's not the body that's moving. It's not, thoughts are not randomly being created. I am creating the thoughts, right? I am making choices of what thoughts to let flow and activate and which ones get deleted, removed. So I am the one creating priority. And then understanding the foundation of that state, right? So the natural aspect of I, the soul, and being is purity, love, spiritual power, bliss, and peace. So that becomes my foundation. And one of the things also that is very clear in terms of my own practice is that whenever I work out with the right intention and the right clarity and cleanliness out of any of those or any other virtue, what happens is harmony and peace is maintained internally and externally. But they must be clean and clear.
In other terms, pure, right?
Right, pure. Because if I go down, and this is a great diagram because it shows the different dimensions. So here's the soul aspect, the energy, right? The consciousness, the life giver, giving life to the physical body. This is what animates it. It is not in the brain. The brain does not think. It is not creating thoughts. The soul is creating thoughts, which then ignites the brain in order to move and to activate action and the system of the body. So understanding the system it really gives me the power to say, wow, I'm operating under the line. And you see the red line that's going across? Well, that's just telling you body consciousness, soul consciousness. Am I above the line? Which is, am I in a so conscious state? Am I really understanding myself as a spiritual being? Or am I operating in this body consciousness where attachment, fear, ego, rejection, misunderstanding, all of those things are attached to it? Is that where I am? And what's clear, one of the indicators that is always there is, am I experiencing confusion, tension, restrictions, limitations, obstacles? Then I'm operating outside of soul consciousness. It's really interesting. The minute you experience that you are in obstacle, it's an indicator that something didn't go quite the way you expected in terms of your state of consciousness.
How to bring back from there?
How to bring back? Very simple. You remember who you are. So in that state of, and we're gonna go over some techniques actually.
Okay.
Any questions? Any questions or comments? And one of the things that we don't take seriously is really taking responsibility for this process of thoughts, you know, the quality of thoughts. If I don't perceive myself to be the creator of those thoughts, then what happens is thoughts just come and go. They're not my thoughts. They're just triggered by the weather, they're triggered by the person, they're triggered by an emotion, right? So really understanding, I am creating the thoughts. The part of me, I, the soul, that creates the thoughts is the conscious mind, but I am creating them. So thoughts become very important. What is the quality of my thoughts? And do I have the right relationship with them? Is my perception that these thoughts are like out of my control? Is my own perception and relationship with them that they're foreign? That I have no relationship to them? Or am I really taking on the responsibility as creator of these thoughts and saying, I am creating these thoughts? Therefore, I am responsible for the quality of these thoughts. And therefore, I can change. I hold the power to change the thoughts. Sometimes we excuse that power by saying, oh, these thoughts, my mind is killing me. My mind is killing me with the flow of thoughts, with the quality of thoughts. So you're positioning yourself outside of this power that you have to change the thoughts in a second, like that. In a second. Because they don't require anything outside of your choice to shift them. Just like that. I can go from being angry to being happy. Just like that. Authentically and real. If I commit to that state, if I commit to that energy, then I can shift it from one to the other. And that's because my intention, when it's clean and pure, has power. And also the aspect of karma is that which I'm giving at this moment with my thoughts. Remember, thoughts reach, I may be here in California, but I may be reaching the other side of the world in a second with a thought. And those thoughts are my responsibility. Why? Because I shall carry the cause and effect of these thoughts for eternity. So it's not a temporary thing, right? So even moving the consciousness from temporary to eternal is very important in this process of healing. And the other question is, these thoughts, are they increasing my spiritual power or are they weakening me? Do they make me feel more fragmented, more fuzzy, foggy? Or are they making me energized and full of possibility? So thoughts become really, really important in the way I am creating my experience internally and externally, and how it is that I am creating relationships internally and externally. Any questions regarding this? So one of the things, the basic tools that I have been using for as long as I have, is that anytime, literally any time that I feel out of myself, or that I've created something that I'm not happy with, because I feel either a tension, a remorse, a guilt, an ugliness inside my heart, the minute that I have any inkling of that as part of my state, I go right back into a conscious state. So I do use meditation as healing, right? Because it helps me discipline the mind, look at the mistake, find out what needs to be replaced, what needs to be fixed, so that I can release myself from the fog. I'm going to take you through this brief meditation, just so that we can experience, but I encourage all of you to, with open eyes, to remain open-eyed. And as you go through this meditation, it's a guided meditation, I want you to pay attention to the words. And as you move through the meditation, I want you to both listen to the commentary, but also create power. And this is an example of churning in meditation. Churning is to create an inner story, an inner dialogue that is based on knowledge, that builds capacity, builds strength, builds connection, builds a bond with your natural self and your qualities. And to understand what it is that you're doing in meditation, it's not just sitting there in silence to be in silence and to wait for an experience to happen, but it's for you to sit there, understand your power, and churn that power and create an experience, right? So I'll give you an example. As you sit there and listening to the commentary, if you just want to go with the commentary, that's fine, but at least look at the words and allow them to take effect. I sit here, awake, with the willingness and ability to purify by simply connecting to my own purity. My mind becomes pure. My heart opens to discover new ways of seeing, of listening, of becoming clear and natural. Right? So that's churning. So in meditation, we don't just go into silence. We're actually going to churn a story about ourselves with spiritual knowledge. And that same story, you sit in meditation, you continuously are you're using the knowledge in order to create the stories that you need in order to support your well-being, to stabilize your inner self, so that then you can become consistent in the way you are internally and externally. So it's like fertilizer. Knowledge becomes fertilizer for the little seeds that you're planting to grow, the seeds to grow. That bond of your natural abilities, like peace and love, tolerance, all of those begin to connect, right? So I'll just go through, just relax. And we're going to go through this exercise of just sitting here and just building power. We're going to create some capacity building.
experience the pull to go beyond sound. What a beautiful moment it is. Our habit is to go into sound. God is creating in us the ability to go beyond sound. And from there to come into sound. O mind, speak sweet words. Such a beautiful song. The mind speaks first. Then we come into sound through words. Sweetness. It must exist before we come into words, into sound. A clean and elevated mind. No effort. Only pure and elevated thoughts. Saints and sages wrote the scriptures, sitting in silence, with elevated, high-quality thoughts. Imagine the quality of their minds, rarely coming into words. Their thoughts, clear and deep in writing. It is easy to come into sound, into words. Go into the silent state of being a soul. Light, beyond the body, bodiless. Lost in the sweetness of God's love. From there, come into words. When you speak, those listening will also become bodiless. Light. Now is the time. Receive from God the gifts of love, peace, and happiness. The recognition of time. Remember God with love. Remembrance in our thoughts. The sweetness of that remembrance reflects in our words. We are merged in that experience. Those saints and sages did a lot of meditation with the aim to experience deep silence. With one glance in 1 second, God gave us that experience. Told us, peace is the garland around your neck. With useless thoughts, peace runs away. We take the words, the sound of others deeply into ourselves and let go of our inner peace. Don't allow yourself to come under the influence of your own mind or the mind of others. From just one thought, so many thoughts emerge, creating discontent. Free the self from the effort of trying to forget things of the past. Why remember and then make the effort to forget? beyond sound, beyond words, to receive the nourishment of silence. Then there is happiness. No matter what others are like, I have to give happiness. The sun does not discriminate to whom it will shine upon. It will just shine. The tree does not discriminate to whom it will give shade. It just protects. We too should not give up our qualities due to another person. A river flows and merges into the ocean. If the river stops flowing, rubbish accumulates as people throw waste into the river. A clean river flows constantly. Pay attention to the quality of your words. To go beyond sound is very beautiful. Into silence. And sweet words will emerge.
So that churning, that inner churning becomes very powerful in creating the inner space, the landscape for us to really work out of, right? And it's very important for us to always keep in mind to never, ever hold things against ourselves. And that what we need to do instead of holding things against ourselves is we need to dissolve that which we're holding on to with self-love and self-respect, knowing that everything that has occurred to us has a reason. And the reason is not to destroy us or to cause limitation, but it's actually to empower us and to create a new way of seeing, a new way of understanding. So many people who have gone through deep trauma have used that trauma in order to awaken new understanding in greater people, in the population, in the world. So it's that which we are striving to do is we use these obstacles, these challenges in order to learn and expand and to create benefit. So really keeping that, what is the benefit in these situations? What is the benefit? What is the learning? What is the expansion? And the only thing that is missing from that space of allowing ourselves to actually expand into that space of what is the benefit? What is the learning? What is the possibility? What is the opportunity here? Is we are not giving ourselves permission to grow into that space of possibility, to grow into that space of forgiveness, to grow into that space of love, of acceptance, of forgiveness, of forgiveness, of forgiveness, of forgiveness. But forgiving ourselves first, because the story in these obstacles begins with us. It's not with what's happening outside. It's not with what the person said or did. It's not with the situation that we remember. It's about how I created with that situation, right? So it's the story about how I related and how that caused upon me that is actually creating the obstacle from me moving forward. So now I have to give myself permission to write a new relationship, a new story about it, so that I can then grow, benefit, and heal and move forward. So remember, the first thing I need to do is make sure that I am committed to giving myself permission to move on, to let go, to release, to allow something new to blossom out of my mind, out of my heart. So it's up to me to allow that new growth, that new little seedling to grow. And another thing that we can do in order to clear away these obstacles and limitations is to become really clear about the aim and objective. What is my aim here? Is my aim here to hold on to the idea that I need to be right, that I need to be correct, that I need to show this person that they're wrong? Is my aim and objective here to be loving and peaceful, flexible? Or is my aim and objective here to remain in my anger, in my pain, and cause upon them more suffering? So what's my aim? Become clear about your aim and objective in all situations, especially your aim and objective when you're dealing with your inner dialogue. Your inner dialogue becomes very important because that's the seed that you're nourishing. What's that seed of? How is it that you're nourishing the seed of you, of your thoughts, the seed of your emotions, the seed of your actions? How are you nurturing them? What's the aim and objective in what you're feeding your mind, what you're feeding your sense organs, right? So really keeping that in mind. What is my aim and objective? Is it clear? The second step that releases us and actually activates after we've given ourselves permission and we become clear in terms of the aim and objective, and the aim is now to heal, to let go, to release, then I need to take responsibility, not only for the part that I played in what happened or what is occurring, but also responsibility for the way I am creating in terms of the story about the person, about the situation. So my story about the situation, about the person, about the event, about the thought. So my story, my relationship, in relationship to all these aspects of myself, I have to take responsibility that they are my creations. And that because they are my creations, I can then shift them, right? So responsibility gives me the power to make something new, to create, to rewrite the story. Am I willing to take that opportunity? Am I ready to take that opportunity? Am I ready to let go, to release? And another aspect of what is helpful in terms of healing obstacles and moving through obstacles is to commit to that pure vision. And pure vision is in Avatar. I don't know if some of you may have seen the movie, but Avatar has this wonderful sense of this idea of pure vision where you look at each other's eyes, and it's what we call drishti, where I look into your eyes and I see you for the spiritual pure being that you are. And what's really important in this pure vision is to also make sure that when you are seen in terms of eye to eye, is that you not only recognize the other and yourself as a spiritual being, but you give yourself a quality. So I, the peaceful being, and looking at you, the peaceful being. Because only then will there be a transmission of acknowledgement and also transmission of the quality that you're transmitting. You can choose love or any other virtue. So I see you as the one who's speaking, who's yelling at me. But I see you as the one who just sees you as the one who's forgetting who you are. But I'm making a choice to see you for the peaceful being, the kind, the loving being that you really are, beyond the forgetfulness, beyond the fog of your mind. So I will remain at peace. I see you as the one who sees and recognizes that your loud screaming and yelling is because you've forgotten I love you, right? So we remain in that state, we remain and cultivate that ability to remain in that state so that these become stable. Our state of being becomes stable and consistent. So pure vision is a very powerful tool when we are in situations such as the one I was in. I forgot to fully maintain and to fully be stabilized in that point of vision. And the other thing that I just did in terms of me remembering the situation is do not get caught and do not own shame. It's my shame, right? So don't get caught with the idea of shame. I am ashamed because I made a mistake. Because that is an excuse for you not moving forward. It's an excuse, it becomes an excuse, a very powerful excuse for you not to allow yourself to heal, to self-correct. I feel shamed. So move away from these aspects of feeling and thinking and doing that do not serve you and actually weaken you and cause you to deconstruct, to go deeper into the fog. So I see you as I see myself. I love you as I love myself. I recognize your beauty as I recognize my own beauty. So all begins with I. I recognize that which I see in myself. And that's pure vision. Any comments or clarifications? And the other thing that is very helpful in terms of clearing away these aspects of challenge and obstacle is to really understand the effects of the aspects of time. How am I actually dealing with something? How am I relating and how am I allowing something that has occurred in the past to actually create and affect and inspire my thinking and my process? How am I allowing the past to actually limit and create this challenge? So understanding what past is, anything that has happened in the past, I can do nothing to change either the condition or the situation in terms of its many variables. It happened as it happened, and I come to trust that it happened because it came to me to show me something. It was a gift in disguise. It came in an ugly package, right? And I recognize and I acknowledge that what has happened in the past, I cannot change. The only thing I can change is my relationship to it. And that's where the healing occurs. My story I created about it needs to change. So now I have to become the writer of my story. I have to understand that I have the power to rewrite a story. And then remaining in that moment of remaining awake, I, the spiritual being, am in action. I'm the one who's seeing this other person. I'm the one who's witnessing the situation, right? Remaining in the proper awareness becomes key in allowing your stability to continue and to maintain. So remaining in that space of self-respect empowers peace of mind and happiness. It allows you to respond accordingly so that you don't have to go back and correct. So I don't have to go back and say, oh, I wasn't patient enough. I wasn't accepting enough. But again, when you go back and correct it first in yourself. I know what I have done. I know what I need to increase in terms of power, and I know how to move forward. So even when you go back to someone or into a situation and you have asked for forgiveness and the forgiveness is not given, that's not the important part of healing. The important part of healing is to make sure that you have healed your part in it. And I need to emphasize this. Healing does not come from someone's acceptance of your apology, but it comes from you accepting your own apology of yourself, of the action that you took, that you're responsible for in whatever situation is in front of you. So I forgive myself first for the things that I have thought, the emotions that I have felt, and the actions I have taken which has caused deeper scars. I forgive myself and I release it. I choose to rewrite the story in order to create benefit. Right? So in the present moment, I remain awake and connected to my powers so that the future is the cause and effect of that which I give, I shall receive. So if I'm giving love in the present moment, I will receive love. And if I don't receive love today, I will receive whatever comes with love and create benefit from it, right? So that's awareness. So does anybody have something that they are, a memory that perhaps it constantly is igniting and you see it coming up in your mind again and again from the past, a trauma or something that has affected the way you're thinking, the way you're processing, also more importantly, the way you're creating relationships, the way you're creating relationships with the self and also others. Anyone? No one has any memories of the past that are haunting them.
Santiago, I do.
Mm-hmm.
I play them like a tape, like a broken record. Sometimes I wonder, like, why am I just hopping from one trauma to another? It's almost like once you put your foot on the pedal and that gas gets going.
Yeah. It's like the meditation said, one thought brings forth a trillion thoughts that are connected to that thought. And so once we create a seed, so it's either going to become a flower or it's going to become a weed. And so we have to pay attention to how we are actually producing and how we are remembering. And how, more importantly, also how we stored those memories. So if memories are stored away as things that cause harm and pain and sorrow, we have to look at them, and whenever they come up and they start causing pain and sorrow, I look at them, I face them, I use the power to face them and say, you've haunted me enough. I'm looking at you, I see what you're saying, but now I'm ready to let you go. I'm going to look for the benefit that you bring me. I'm look at the learning that I need to take from you, and I will grow. I will become stronger, more powerful. So that's where the power of silence comes in, because in meditation, again, I'll repeat this, meditation is not just about going into silence and waiting for something, a spiritual occurrence to happen. Meditation is a way of churning your own mind, right? The mind will never stop thinking, so you have to give it something useful to think about. You have to direct it. So in that direction, you're going to give it this memory. Allow this memory, because this memory has come into your consciousness, it keeps coming up. And it's affecting your thinking, your emotions, and your doing. And it's affecting your relationships. Because if it's a lesson you have not learned, it will keep repeating, right? So now you have to break the cycle of that repeat. And the way you break that cycle is you use the power of meditation, the power of connection, the power of me. I am an awake spiritual being, and I look at the story and I face whatever's there. I am brave enough and courageous enough to face what is there. And I allow the lesson to emerge. And if it takes me more than one try in order to rewrite the story, to look and to find the benefit, then I keep going. Whenever it shows up, I watch it, I see it, I look at it with courage. And I take the time to love myself enough to release myself from the bondage of this memory. So I look at it. I look at what it's causing and how it's causing. And now I look at it in such a way, what are you here to teach me? How are you here to teach me how to grow, how to become more powerful? And only you will be able to answer that as you move through this process. But one thing that is clear is that you must give yourself permission to allow something new to be created, to grow. You will remain in that victim mentality until you give yourself permission to break away from it. And you basically proclaim to yourself, I am ready to be at peace and to find the joy or the benefit in this situation. I am ready to release it. I no longer am willing to give my power away to you. Many of us have gone through deep, deep, deep trauma, and some of us have had an easier time. But it doesn't matter whether it's very deep or very just, day-to-day happenings. We can create a very deep trauma and a very deep scar with either type of occurrence because of the way we relate or the way we create with it. So anytime that you find yourself being haunted by a memory of something that has happened in the past, give yourself permission to face it with courage and to allow yourself the opportunity to discover the benefit and what is there for you to learn, to grow from. I hope that's helpful to you, Christy.
It is. Could I actually share something really quick?
Yes, please.
Prior?
Sure, please.
Thinking about a seed being a thought. you know, and you choose what you grow, you know. I choose if I, you know, have limiting thoughts like weeds, or expansive thoughts like flowers. You know, a seed's in many ways also a neuron in my brain.
Yeah.
And my roots for my seed, those are my neural webs, my neural networks. Mm-hmm. And my neural networks, those are my memories and my experiences. Now, if I want, I can keep going through a neural web that's currently existing, my past, and I can go through those old loops, those old roots, or I can choose to let go of that because I want to form new loops.
Neuroplasticity.
Exactly, because through new loops, new experiences, letting go of the other ones, you know, rising above, you know, I can create flowers.
That's right.
I can grow, because what I'm doing right now, I'm not growing, I'm restricting.
Well, you're cultivating a field of weeds and thorns, as we put it. So you need to make a choice. Do I want to continue growing a field of thorns, or do I want to cultivate a beautiful garden of flowers? And the only way to do that is to give yourself permission to stop cultivating a field of thorns. And it really is that easy. It's, as I said before, you go from happiness to sadness in a second, right? Have you ever experienced that? All of a sudden you feel happy, and all of a sudden you feel sad, or you feel sad and then you feel happy, just in a second. Something stimulated, and you go from one to the other. And the mind is that way. And our system is actually engineered by, you know, spiritually engineered in such a way that we have the power to go from this to that. As they say, in a second, I can go from being asleep to being awake, from being self-realized to being awake, to being asleep again, or reverse. So it's up to us to determine what we want to experience. It's a choice. So now we have to exercise our power of choice. I, as a spiritual being who is the master of this system, sit in my self-respect, sit in my self-love, sit in my self-acceptance, understanding that all that is occurring and all that has occurred is perfectly happening in place and time. Right? And you you give yourself the permission to move forward, to take the next step forward on your path without suffering. So now the question to you is, are you ready to experience a new field of flowers as opposed to one of thorns? And I think that's a very important question we all have to ask when we're suffering in any way, shape, or form. When am I ready to move forward? Or is this actually giving me some form of satisfaction that is warping my way of seeing, my way of thinking, my way of experiencing, and my way of relating with myself and the world, right? So how much power am I giving this challenge, this obstacle, this thought, this feeling? Any other question? And I think that this aspect of moving through challenges right now, we're in a very, very beautiful time in the history of humanity. There's so much challenges, so many ways and shifts and unexpectedness. And it's time for us to really work strongly at stabilizing, committing to that space of, this is the way I choose to be. And understanding that everything is a choice. when it comes to my inner being. My inner being, I am the master of my inner being, my inner landscape. So again, the question of, am I ready to release the inner fog, the doubt? When you sit in self-respect and you're fully working in that integrated self, in that soul consciousness state, in that remembering of not only yourself and the system, but also remembering your qualities, not only in terms of your connection with your own qualities, but also you begin to fly into the realm of divine, into that divine connection where you are being fused with power. So are you ready to sit in that seat of self-respect, in that strength, in that courage, in that healing, and release the doubt, the desire to be right, the anger, the fear, the victim, the guilt, the anger, the resentment, and all the things of the past that keep you chained up in your own mind, that limit and block your experience. Letting go of the need to fulfill other people's expectations of you, the need to please others, to be in their favor, to release the waste, to release that inner fog. Are you ready? And people can go to psychiatrists, psychologists, counselors for 100 years. But one does not heal until they give themselves permission to move forward, to allow that healing to occur. And the work that needs to happen can only be done by us. I need to give myself permission to grow a beautiful flower. So based on what we've been sort of covering, and this image here, which shows the soul's, the way the soul works in terms of conscious mind, in terms of I, the soul, create thoughts, emotions, desires, and I have an intellect that judges, discriminates right and wrong. So whenever I feel angst, or I feel limited, or I feel like a block or distraught, confused, that means the intellect is not getting the right direction, because there's something in there that's mixing it up. So I have to clean up that space, right? And I have to anchor it back into my original self, into that full of possibility, into that garden of flowers, not a field of thorns. And then the subconscious mind begins to really, so all these memories of the past that have us incarcerated, jailed, chained up, in pain and sorrow, we are storing them in the subconscious mind, and we need to release them, rewrite them, right? So at least we know the system of how this is operating. And all of it is under my control. I sit in the self-respect, and I am the master of this system. I am the master of the system. I have the power to direct the direction and the course, the path I take. And this is governed and also stabilized and anchored in the qualities of the soul, which keep me from creating distortion, confusion. So when I remain in those qualities of the soul, I remain in clean, clear, and pure state without challenge. But again, when I utilize these, they have to be 100%. Even 1% less of purity is not purity anymore. So I have to have full aim and objective to remain clean and clear and stable in my choice to not allow impurities to enter the mind. The distractions of other people's words or actions to distract me from what is real for me. So now that you have this, let's do a little exercise. Does anybody want to share a situation that they are going through, and kind of let's work it through this process of how do I maintain so conscious, or at least consciousness of I, the spiritual being, that space of I have chosen to be a peaceful being. I have chosen to be a loving being. I have chosen to be a capable being. Whatever it is that you choose, I want you to just take a look, and we'll take a second. And I want you to contemplate on the piece of paper, and I want you to look at, can everybody see the qualities of the soul clearly? Anyone? Yes?
Yes, yeah, we can see.
Okay, so I want you to just, for a second, let's go into 1 minute of silence, and I want you to choose 3 qualities that you feel connected to. Just 3 of those qualities, any qualities within that circle, within that wheel. I want you to write them down. And we're going to use them to sort of process, right? We're going to process a situation using one of those qualities. So I want you to, let's just take a minute of silence. Take a minute and really just see what qualities you feel connected and natural with. Okay, is everybody ready? So would anybody like to be brave and courageous and bring forth a situation that you are facing at the moment, or perhaps something that is haunting you, a memory of the past that is haunting you, and see if we can collectively, but you working through it, the system, to see how it would work for you. Just to create a practical experience of it, so that we can then go back, and at any time that we are challenged, use this process in order to engage a new understanding, a new creative story that is actually beneficial. Anyone?
Yes, brother, I can share.
Yes, please.
Yes, so 22 years ago, I was married in the family that was away from the country, from my back home. I traveled here to America through the marriage. And when I moved here, at the same time, my sister-in-law from the Pakistan, she moved here too. So what, I don't know what it was, mistake or something, but what they did is, in the same home, the daughter-in-law went in, and then the son-in-law was coming there permanently too. So my in-laws permanently, they ignored me, and all of the attention went to the daughter and then the son-in-law. And then it's been 22 years. I was there, and then the same daughter and son-in-law is there too. So I've been through a lot of hard work, lot of mental disturbance because of the tensions and fights. And finally now, being through so much ups and downs, I decided to, leave them alone. So with my husband, I told him, like, because of them, our relations, the roots of our relations are not being so good, and then kids are depressed and everything is turning bad in the life. I just stopped calling them and decided not to keep any more connections with them, because if they choose that that's fair, I would just let them do what they think it's supposed to be. And that's the pain you are talking about, the hunting. I think that's the pain, because in the beginning life, even the first day of my marriage, I didn't feel that this is my home until today. I don't feel like that's my home. Even sometimes I feel like before marriage, we have lots of dreams that I'm gonna go, I will get my partner, my family. I didn't receive any of that. That family wasn't very welcoming. So this is something that's haunting me, and that's the biggest cause of pain. Like we have been through so many times where we thought, this marriage is not gonna last, but thankfully, we always make up, because we think our kids, we think my husband is a nice guy. So then we just stop it and continue our life. And then finally, after through meditations and learning, I just felt like few people are not meant for us. So I don't know if I did the right thing or wrong thing, but now I stopped talking to my in-laws.
Yeah. First, I'll start with saying you did neither the right thing nor the wrong thing. You did what's best, what you felt was best for your situation, given your understanding. Okay, so removing the guilt from whatever it is that you have done already, right? Letting go of the guilt. There is no need for that, because it stops the healing. And also it stops you from being clear in terms of your thinking. So first step is, I did and I acted to the best of my capacity in the situation. Right? So that's the first affirmation that you need to give yourself in order to move forward. And then I'll ask you a different thing. Do you want to experience something different in relationship to this circumstance?
Yes, I need peace of mind. I need my husband. I need my kids.
Okay.
So
peace of mind. You want to experience peace of mind.
Yes.
Okay. So the next question would be, how are you viewing yourself? In the beginning, we talked about how am I perceiving myself? What is the image that I have about me in this situation? In this situation, how are you seeing yourself?
To be honest, I feel victim.
Victim.
Yeah, because I feel like the married daughter, once she left, she should be in her home rather than in her mother's home, and disturbing the new woman who came to the home. So I feel like it's a tradition, right? Every woman marries, that woman goes to in-laws.
Yeah.
It was very hard for me when their daughter came back to home, and not only by herself but with the entire family, and she started living in the same home, and that making me feel bad, because that was not something we normally expect.
Yeah. So we'll go back to, so what we're going to do is we're going to just focus on you, okay? For one of the first things that we'll do is we'll forget about them and what they're doing, because you never really understand why or how somebody thinks or feels or acts, right?
Yes.
The only thing, so what's in your control and what's out of your control. Anything about their thinking, their feeling, and their doing is out of our control, right?
Yes.
So what is in your control at the moment?
I have control of my thoughts.
That's right. You have control of your parts. So first thing that I see that needs to be healed is, who are you?
I am a soul.
And what type of soul are you?
Peaceful.
A peaceful soul. Okay, so now you're saying that you are a peaceful soul, right?
Yes.
Okay, so given the fact that you how you identify I am a peaceful being. How does a peaceful being act with itself? So what kind of thoughts does a peaceful being have about how? So you're a peaceful being. What kind of thoughts are you having about you?
I am feeling like I am on the journey of this life, and I belong to my God, and I will go there. So this is, it's the life of purity. But then so many situations came in, and they came over me. Mm-hmm. So now I'm just trying to heal myself with the help of God and with the people like you.
Okay, so what we're going to go through here is a couple of things, okay? We're going to go over some of these ideas that we talked about. First, you said you're willing to experience something new, right?
Yes.
You want to let go of the pain about the feelings that have been inspired, that you created, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So first thing, so you have the first thing is done. Permission. You're giving yourself permission to experience something different, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then we've also done something else. We've actually, so you're willing to say that your state of consciousness that you want to work out of, right, is soul consciousness, right? I, the spiritual being, and what you said you are as a spiritual being is that you're a peaceful soul, right? Yes. Okay, so I, the peaceful soul, find myself in a situation. And the situation is I got married, I've had children, and the situation that in my family, in my extended family, came with surprises, right?
Yes.
It came with surprises. So do you think that your mother-in-law and that your sister-in-law intentionally created the situation that you're facing?
I think it's maybe they don't mean it, but it's like she loves her daughter too much, and she can even kill anybody for her. So I think this is maybe their bonding.
Yeah.
Or maybe insecurity that someone is gonna come and take over whatever they have it. So to be honest, sometimes when I see them, I feel like they are insecure, but they don't even know that they have a woman who doesn't want anything except love. Because when I got married, I had only one thought, and that was my husband and my family. I never even thought about how much money they have or anything like that.
We're going to just stick to, again, we're going to come back to just what you are doing, right? We're not going to, but what I want to clarify is that they didn't do it against you, right? They didn't act against you. They just kind of were doing their own thing based on tradition, based on their relationship, based on their bond as a family. So can you give me another way of looking at it? So you see a mother who cares deeply for their daughter, right?
Yes.
And wants
yes.
to protect her and give, and perhaps we don't know what their situation is, but perhaps they were in a situation where she needed a home. And so the mother reacted to it and gave her a home. And it happened to be an unexpected situation for you, right?
Yes, yes.
But the act was done out of love, perhaps, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So the mother was loving to the daughter, right?
Yes.
And so in an extended family, you all are like creating a space where you can all share and live together and create a good space, right?
Yes.
Do you think that the peaceful soul will look at this from I am a victim?
Actually, you know what? Sometimes in that kind of family, they blames you for so many things that you haven't even done or thought about that.
Yeah.
So this is what something bothered me, because so many times, like a 22 years of girl came in the home. My sister-in-law was 45 and the mother is almost more than 65.
Yeah.
And then they are more mature than me, and they are expecting me to take care of everything in their home from the first day of my wedding. So they didn't even give me chance to learn. So by the time I was able to learn, like now I can, within 1 year, I learned everything about their traditions, but I was broke enough that I didn't even have the energy to take care of them.
Okay, so
Because
I'll just interrupt you for just a second. So we're going to go back to you being a peaceful soul, right?
yes,
Okay, so does a peaceful soul look for the benefit in all situations?
that should be.
It should be, or does it?
I don't know, to be honest.
Okay, so I'll go back to a previous point that we made. So as a peaceful person, as one who is practicing soul consciousness, and one who wants to create harmony and peace in the world, is the way you're thinking about the situation beneficial for you
No,
and then also them?
no,
Okay, so when we are in this so conscious state, we want to create not only benefit and harmony with and peace for ourselves, but also we have to be in that peaceful state and unconditional state also with everyone around us. So the challenge becomes, what kind of thinking do I need to produce in order to create that peaceful state of being with everyone? So how could you change the story about them? So the other thing that we learned today was every obstacle, every unexpected challenge is a lesson for us to become stronger and more powerful.
yes,
What could you possibly learn that will give you power? One of the things that you mentioned was, I learned how to do, within a year, I learned how to take care of lots of different things, right?
yes,
And was that beneficial for you?
it was.
Yeah, so
Yes,
you actually, the situation brought you unexpected benefits, correct?
yes,
So should you be grateful that they opened that up for you?
of course, of course.
Yeah.
Like,
So
yeah,
so this is the kind of thinking. So we start with the root of who am I and who am I choosing to be in the situation. So I am now looking at the situation from I, a peaceful being, a spiritual being who is peaceful, and I look at the situation. Now I look at it with the eyes of peace. I am peace, looking through these eyes and looking at the situation. How does peace look at your situation? Think about it. So close your eyes and I want you to contemplate. So if you were in meditation and you were saying, I want to take benefit from this situation that I find myself for 20 years. I've created a story about my mother-in-law, my sister-in-law, and everybody around me. Does that story reflect peace? Does that story reflect peace?
no,
Is the way that I am interpreting myself, I am a victim, is that a peaceful way of looking at yourself?
it's, I'm sorry. It doesn't look like it's a piece. No, it doesn't look like.
Yeah. So it's important for us to go through the experience of things from that perspective. I, the peaceful being, am looking and experiencing peace in everything around me. Right? So that's
Yes.
the commitment. So the next step is, am I being peaceful with myself in the way I am creating for myself? Am I creating peace of mind by calling myself, I am a victim of my mother-in-law and the situation?
No, I am doing this mistake.
Yeah. So then the next step is, don't forget, there is no mistake, right? It's just I made a choice to the best of my understanding, and now I'm ready and I give myself to understand it differently.
Okay.
With lots of love. I am loving towards myself, and I hold myself with peace and love so that I can then take benefit from the situation. So we already explored one benefit. I grew and I learned how to take care of. You probably also learned a lot of things which you have not given yourself permission to. I learned to be more flexible, right? So you
Yes.
needed to be flexible for 20 years. Your muscle of flexibility grew,
Yes.
right? And probably your flexibility, your power of creativity also grew. So I learned to be creative in this situation so that I can maintain peace, a certain amount of peace, right?
Yes.
With everybody around. And I can also create the conditions to support my husband and my children.
Yes.
So there was creativity that you benefited from growing.
Yes.
You see what I'm getting to?
Yes.
Yeah. So when you look at a situation, you look at it from, wow, instead of looking at the thorns and the obstacles that you perceived, think about it in this way. I look at this from in your meditation, I look at this and I am looking for the flowers that are growing.
Yes.
I'm looking for the power that I increased.
Yes.
Right? And then as you move through it, you will then unravel, oh, wow, look at this gift that I've been receiving for 20
Yes.
years.
Yes.
I've been receiving ways of empowering and growing and becoming more powerful as an individual, as a peaceful
Yes.
individual.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
It does. Definitely it does.
Yeah.
Because in past 20 years, I would say in past 15 years, even my husband was thinking that they like sister has a right in the home, and then now because he has been with me for 15-20 years now, so now he knows that something is not right, and now he is ready to move on too. So maybe there is something that he likes it which I didn't notice.
Yeah. So
But
I'll ask you a different question. Okay. So I'll ask you a different question. If it was the situation, put yourself in their shoes. So I want you to take the daughter's position.
Mhm.
Okay. I want you to put yourself in that daughter's position. And I want you to contemplate, I, the peaceful being, okay, I'm
Yes.
experiencing the daughters, your daughter, your sister-in-law's position, right? So here
Mhm.
she is, she's needing a place. What do you think she felt with her mom said, come live with us. We'll make room. We'll make it work. What do you think she felt? Do you think she felt supported? Do you think
Yes.
she felt loved?
Yes.
Is that a good thing for them? Or would you prefer that she would have said, no, I can't have you. You have to go fend for yourself?
Um, you know what? To be honest, in this case, my arguments is like support is for 1 year or maybe 6 months. It's
Yeah,
not for 22 years,
yeah,
because someone came to your home by the legal rights, by the, for your, I understand then the son, if you have a son and daughter, but then the son-in-law and daughter-in-law, they become the family too, right?
yeah.
But in this situation, and then the support of their daughter was again from her
Okay, so
in-laws, like
I'm
they
gonna
wanted
I'm
to.
gonna interrupt you for just a second, and I'm gonna bring another thought to you, okay?
Sure.
So what I'm hearing you do is I'm hearing you excuse why this is still the same way you are looking at it from,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
Yeah. So we want to move away from that, and what we want to do is, did you give yourself permission to experience something different?
Yes.
Okay, so then exercise the permission you've given yourself by actually allowing yourself to forget about what they did or how they did it or how you think they did it, right? That's a story we created about what situation occurred, right? Because you really don't know how they felt, right? You never had a conversation. This is the way I feel, and this is the way I'm thinking, and this is the way I'm doing, right?
Yes.
You never had one of those conversations with them, right?
Well, I've explained many times, but they would like, she's gonna be here, you choose, you have to live or no.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So they were clear to you in terms of their position, right?
Yes.
And you also need to take responsibility for the choice of staying there.
Yes.
Right? So you can't, when somebody's clear with where their position, you can't hold it against them for being clear. They were clear and you made a choice, you made a decision. So I become responsible for the choice of staying.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And then I release the negative thoughts and feelings that I have created about them, because I now realize that I am responsible for the choice of staying here. Right?
Yes.
So this is a process that, so then the aim that you're creating is, in this process of cleaning up and rewriting the story, my aim is to create peace. Peace in my mind and peace in my heart. And my aim is to create peace with them, not to distance myself, right? Because now think of your husband. Now his wife is now creating the challenge of distance from his family. How do you think he feels?
He must be feeling bad.
Yeah. So now you're participating in creating a karmic account with your husband and also your mother-in-law and his family, right? And the karmic account that you're creating is one of disturbance. So now think about, I, the peaceful being, I'm looking to heal this process. Now, what do you do as a peaceful being? Perhaps I soften my heart and I forgive them for the past, for the way I have created feelings and thoughts about them. I forgive them for the time that I spent there, that I felt that I had been victimized. I forgive myself for thinking this way, because I was also growing and beautiful things were happening, but I put my energy into the negative aspects and I didn't pay enough attention to the beauty and the beautiful things that were occurring, right? So my attention was in the wrong place. Now I forgive myself for putting the attention in the wrong place, and I put the attention in the right place now. I want to create a loving experience with my husband. I want to create a loving and peaceful experience with my mother-in-law, my sister-in-law, because that's what I am a peaceful being, and that's what I choose to create. Forgetting what somebody else does and somebody else is doing is not important. The only thing that's important is how I am creating and how I am being. Whose karma is it?
My karma.
That your karma. So now your job as a peaceful being is to create peaceful, beautiful karma.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
It does. It does.
So now, by me taking responsibility for me making the choice to stay for 20 years, I now need to rewrite the story in a way that creates benefit. Think about everything that you learned. Think about all the stuff that you expanded into just by being in that situation, right? So make a list about all the beautiful things that actually came about from that situation.
Yes. The one biggest thing I learned is I never, in my side of family, like my parents' home, I barely go there because I'm afraid of now not ruining anybody's home. So in this way, I'm very lucky that because I have experienced bad, I'm not messing up my karmas with my brothers and my sister-in-laws. Like we don't even know, so um, too much because I barely go there.
Yeah.
Um,
So now think of a peaceful soul. I, the peaceful being, am able to visit people as much as I like so I can spread peace and love,
yeah.
right?
Yes.
So, right. So now the way I see myself is I don't see myself. So you're creating a story that if you go to them, you're going to be a disturbance.
Yes. Now I'm afraid of that kind of
Now you're
karma.
afraid of that, right? So now we don't
Yeah.
create new stories that create new obstacles.
Yes.
So we stop that kind of thinking and we say, I am a peaceful being and I am a gift wherever I go.
Yes.
Wherever I go with love and I go with peace, and I am a gift to all those who come before me. Right?
Yes.
So don't create more negative thoughts around your circumstance. So that wasn't a gift, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So now you need to create that space. So I would encourage you to go deep into meditation and really see what a peaceful soul. So the other aspect to contemplate here is, are you seeing your mother-in-law? Are you seeing your husband? Are you seeing yourself, first of all? Are you seeing your sister-in-law? Are you seeing everybody around you as I see you with pure vision? I, the peaceful being, see you as a peaceful being. Imagine your mother-in-law's
Mhm.
face in front of you. And now I want you
Mhm.
to look into her eyes and say, I see you as a peaceful, beautiful soul. I see you as a kind and loving being. So as I see you, I see myself. So as I see you, I see myself. That which I say you are, I am too. Okay?
Yes.
Can you do that?
Yes.
And what comes
Not that hard.
up?
Not that hard. I did that many times, in my past 20 years. Otherwise, it wasn't easy to live there.
Yeah.
So I'm keep practicing, but then keep forgetting, keep doing that
Yeah.
again, keep
So
forgetting.
now,
So
yeah, the commit to pure vision. So commitment means the forgetfulness will become smaller and smaller until it's gone. And all you'll remember is that I am a peaceful being and you are a peaceful being. So the forgetfulness with the practice and the commitment will end the forgetfulness.
okay.
Okay. And what happens is that enthusiasm will grow. I become enthusiastic about not only being with myself and exploring myself as a spiritual being, but I'm also enthusiastic about seeing and experiencing others in their spiritual magic.
Yes.
Make sense?
Thank you. Yes,
Yeah.
it does
And
make sense.
yeah, and the next thing is to let go of everything that's happened for the past 20 years.
Yes.
Anything that you perceive as negative, just let it go. Those are
Yes.
waste thoughts. Now, look at them from benefit. So continue to meditate on them and really reflect on, what am I supposed to learn from here? How am I growing? How did I grow? How did I expand? What's the beautiful stuff that I learned? Wow, look how close this family is. How supportive of each other they are,
Yes.
right? They didn't follow tradition, but what was more important for them was supporting each other,
Yes.
making sure that they all had what they needed in order to live peacefully and happily,
Yes.
right? So,
Yes.
so take benefit. So it's up. This is the work that you now need to do. And do you have any questions?
No, thank you. That was
Yeah.
very helpful, actually.
Oh, good. So I'll leave you with this last. So self-respect. I am a peaceful being. I live in self-respect. So I release the doubt.
Yes.
I release the desire to be right.
Yes.
I release anger.
Yes.
I release fear.
Yes.
I release the idea that I was a victim.
Yes.
I release the blame.
Yes.
I release the anger.
Yes.
I release the resentment.
Yes.
I release all the things of the past that are ugly.
Yes.
I do not need to fulfill other people's expectations, right?
Yes.
As a wife, as a daughter-in-law, I live as a peaceful being, a loving being, and that's enough.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes. Thank you so much, brother.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else? Or is there any questions? So the churning occurs, and I say again, meditation becomes extraordinarily important because it really allows you for the space to be honest, to become honest with yourself in terms of what you witness, but then also use the power of creativity to write a beautiful story that empowers you and engages new possibilities, new growths. Anyone else would like to share their something that they're working through? And sister, thank you so much for being brave and courageous. It takes a lot to put oneself in these kind of situations. So I appreciate you and thank you so much for your courage.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I have.
Oh.
Well, I'll just wait. Maybe I can contact you personally because, we know each other from the center.
Oh, sure, Sandra. That's no problem.
Pardon me?
Yes.
Somebody, well, my gosh, this was just like, this was so revealing that it's just overwhelming. I was very close to my parents. And so in 1998, my father passed away. And so then my mother, I was determined to, for my mother was going to stay alive. So he was 90 something or other and good health his whole life. And then she was in good health her whole life. So she lived, it was 101. And this is the whole deal is I've dealt with it, but I still have, this is bringing up this toxic waste dump right now that repeals itself, appears from time to time.
Yeah.
Because I've sort of like stuffed it and moved on because of all my, meditation and everything has allowed me to just keep moving on after, let me see, that was 2010. So she was perfectly healthy. But I don't know why I took her to the hospital just to check her blood pressure because she never even took a pill in her life. She was always very healthy. And so I went to check it. The paramedic said, you don't need to go. She's fine. I get to the hospital. Oh, why are you here? Because she's perfectly fine. Well, long story short, they kept her there. They did 1 million tests. She picked up a virus. They were punching her arms from every single minute with something. And from a healthy woman that never suffered anything in her life. I mean, she had a broken hip at 90 and she was walking the next day after the surgery. I mean, she was amazing, skinny little, teeny little person. But I've been so tormented with this underlying guilt that why did I take her? I mean, my life has moved forward. I mean, I went to school for 5 years. I had jobs. I immediately jumped into that. So I never went through a point of separation. I just had to keep moving. And so, but underlying, and I'm thinking, about all the nurses that were they kept giving her all these tests and it was just, it was just horrible. And then they said, oh, wait, now you have to go to rehab. Now you have to go to rehab. And then, so then she went to the rehab, and the next day, so we said, okay, good night. The next day they called and said she was gone. And it was just, and she didn't go in with the illness. She didn't go in with anything. She went in perfectly. Her health was perfect there. And all of these things caused that. And I have been filled with so much underlying guilt that even though I've been able to move forward, but so today has been a really revealing situation because I've let go of it for the most part, but it comes up from time to time. And today is just, it's come up today. I didn't even think I was going to deal with this issue today at all. And it's just, because I said, well, maybe that was her karma, so I could move on. But no, if I hadn't taken her there, she would have been okay.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. So anyway, that is my story.
Yeah.
And I don't know what in the world that they did to her overnight, because she was perfectly fine. And then she was gone. But it happened the passing happened on a very significant day. So that's how I sort of dealt with it.
Well, I think that thank you for the courage to bring this forth. And I just want to say that that one of the things that I will suggest to you in terms of going into meditation and really looking at the situation is really understanding that whether something is in your control or out of your control. And I dealt with some issues of unexpected passings in the past year, quite a few actually. And one of the things that has helped me in terms of coping and also managing the situations is really understanding that our time here in this life is something that none of us are in control of to a certain extent, in terms of conscious control, right? And that's where trust and faith come into part. The trust in the drama and in the sense that things are occurring the way they need to. It's not to say that the method in which somebody leaves is right or wrong, but it's simply an understanding that our time and our condition in the way we go is something that is out of not only the person's control, but everybody around them. And no matter what you did everything you did out of love, out of compassion, and out of just the need of the circumstance, right? So you were actually doing everything in your power, the best that you could. And most importantly, for you to understand that the root, the intention, the purity of your actions were pure and clean. And when pure and clean exists in the heart and in the doing, there's nothing to regret. And I had to go through that with my dad. And I had to go through that with just very recently with a friend's father, where certain actions were taken that didn't make sense. But then we had to also look at the situation from a distance to be able to free ourselves from any suffering. So I encourage you in terms of your situation to not just put it away or get activated with actions, with your work or whatnot, but to be courageous enough to deal with it for once and for all. Give yourself permission to release this guilt. Because although we think that things like this do not influence and trigger our thinking, our feelings, and our actions, they subconsciously do more than we actually understand. So it's really important for us to work through it deep enough so that we can really release it once and for all. So whether here or at your own time, I encourage you to sit in that meditation of, do it with aim and objective, and choose a certain quality. If I was going to ask you to sit in front of the situation, what quality of the soul would you sit with? Meaning, I am a compassionate being. What would that quality be for you? From the three qualities that you, what three qualities did you select in that moment of silence that we had? So it's we'll just go on, Sandra, but you're welcome to call me or be in contact with me if you want to move forward with this in any way, shape, or form. And I know, and I know who you are, how courageous and powerful you are. And I know that all this will bring benefit. Does anybody else have a question or would like to offer up another situation? Yes?
I don't know. Could I maybe reach out to you privately?
Yeah, of course. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. So one of the things, once we go through this process and we clean up our situations or we clean up our inner space and we release, we become free from the influence of our own thinking, of our own stories, of our own inner relationship we created that have harmed us, that have caused suffering, right? So we come to understand that no one outside of us, no one in the outside world is causing upon me, that I am causing upon myself with the way I'm thinking, the way I'm creating story, the way I'm creating relationship. I am the cause of my suffering. So now, with that permission to allow something beautiful to awaken, to become alive, to live inside of you, then you give yourself permission to be free of it by writing a new story that brings benefit, that empowers you. So it's very important. But in also moving forward, so that's one aspect of creating healing. The next one is to prevention. So I'm very big on preventing. So instead of just moving along, you then now learn to prevent situations where you need to create a rewrite, where you prevent the sense of any of these negative feelings and obstacles. So how do you do that? And one of the techniques that we use is inner traffic control. And that is no matter where you may be, whatever you may be doing, whoever's in front of you, take a moment and you don't need to close your eyes. You just go internally become aware of your thoughts and then choose the quality of your thoughts. Drive them, color them with one of your favorite virtues. So I had you select 3 of the virtues that felt natural. Use those virtues to actually use them as lenses to look through your own thinking, your own feelings, and your own doings, and then look through those lenses to look at situations, to look at others. So whether you chose respect or tolerance or love or peace, I am peace seen through these eyes, looking out into the world. I am love listening through these ears. I'm listening to the world. I am respect speaking through this tongue, speaking with the world. So make sure that you create pure divine thoughts. And divine thoughts are those which are stabilized in virtues. So cultivate positive, energizing feelings. So automatically, if you have positive, pure thoughts, you will cultivate positive, energizing feelings. It becomes automatic. It's like a trickle effect. If I do this, it's a domino effect. If positive thoughts are in place and positive emotions are in place, and positive, powerful actions will take place, right? So it's a domino effect. If I can create the circumstance for which to create this. So when I check my thoughts in those moments of taking a minute or two to look inward, so I'm directing myself inwardly. And I can continue to be speaking to the person, but my mind is actually also doing an action of actually looking to see the quality of the thinking. And also, I'm looking and I become observant. I look at the quality of the feeling. And then I actually look at the quality of action. And I assure that these are done with aim and objective in mind. I, the peaceful being, have the aim and objective to be peaceful in my doing, in my thinking, and in my emotions. Is that clear? So really creating that pattern, that sense of practice. And this is a practical tool to utilize anytime during the day, at any given moment, whether you're in meditation or out of meditation, because you are a spiritual being no matter where you are. Everything you do is spiritual act. When you start to sit in your self-respect, you realize, I am a spiritual being living a spiritual life in this lifetime. This lifetime is a spiritual experience. There's no separation. So now to end our session, I just want to go through one more experience of silence. So there is another commentary here, and we'll just go through it. And as you are listening to commentary, I want you to look. The quality of my inner experience is my choice. Your choice to go from sadness to happiness, from happiness to sadness. Your choice. Become aware that it's your choice and that you can exercise it at any given time from one to another. And all you have to do is give yourself permission to release that which has haunted you, which has rid you with peacelessness and sorrow and pain, to that which is bringing you peace and happiness. So it's all commitment. Oops. Here we go. I ask myself, what can I do? The world seems sad, the dreams we had are through. The words I could say